Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Got another episode here, Kevin and Angel from the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about taking action. So in the past couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about mindset and positivity, negativity, how those different things can manifest and either be, your best friend or your worst enemy. And so today we're going to kind of be talking about where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, where you can have the greatest mindset in the world. And you can think about, waking up in the morning early and doing your meditations and trying to be positive and stuff. But all of that is great. But at the end of the day, so much of your success in business is going to really boil down to how quickly you're going to take action on the things that you need to take action on. So, Angel, this is something that's kind of been, a topic of discussion for us, even inside of Top Dog Advertising and the stuff that we're doing with our clients and just different things that we have planned. Why don't you talk to everyone a little bit about this and kind of like where you see people getting held up and the reason that some people may have a hard time taking action in their business?
I feel like a lot of people will think that they have, a good mindset as far as like wanting to get ahead of leads or like answering the phone every single time or, having all of these automations in place, trying to think ahead of like, maybe things are a little bit slow right now. So what can I do for the future? Let me start group classes. Let me start this. Let me start that. Kind of like growing things a little too fast, which great mindset to have, growth and kind of like thinking ahead in the future. But I think what most people don't like realize is not taking enough action currently, even like with the little things, you know what I mean? So whether that's like, having a better, like longer lead nurturing system for your leads versus, I have a good mindset. I'm answering the phone right away. I want to sell these people, but no one is serious. Everyone's just asking for prices. No one's ready right now. That's a good mindset to have initially, taking care of those leads. But you want to make sure that you are kind of like taking care of everything down the line. So when it comes to taking action, I feel like the most important thing is thinking of like those little granular things that come along in your sales process or even just like your normal day-to-day routine, like setting aside time to make sure that you are kind of like covering the admin stuff in your business or getting back to old leads or little things like that. Just like taking action on the little things day to day versus being too focused on like the growth or future mindset, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And what I always think about with business when people are struggling or stuck in a spot where they're not happy and they feel like they have no momentum and all that negativity is what would it look like if you were to take such a massive amount of action in your business that it would be unreasonable for you to be successful if you do that? So if you have a list of 100 people and you were just to sit down and with a cup of coffee and a pair of headphones in a quiet room and just call 100 people, it would be at that point unreasonable that at the very least you wouldn't be able to get some consultations on the calendar for you that you can go and sell to, right? Or you may even just be able to flat out make some sales, if you are not getting any leads in, what would it look like if you were just to go out and spend 8 hours a day for the next month, Monday through Friday, or whatever you want it to be, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the local Home Depot or Tractor Supply, any of those places, demoing your dog, handing out business cards, starting conversations. If you do this stuff, your business will have no choice but to grow. But it's very easy as a business owner just to get hung up and fall into the negativity of like, oh, that won't work, or I don't have time to do that, or, just the woe is me mindset. But again, if you just take unreasonable action in your business and do things that will move the ball forward, then you undeniably will get results from that. But I think that's a hard thing for us to wrap our heads around when we're struggling and the mindset may be off,
Yeah, and I've been working with a lot of our clients on getting some re-engagement drip campaigns set up. And it's crazy to look at like the amount of old leads, more specifically, when someone kind of gets in the habit of or I guess out of the habit of keeping their leads or their pipeline organized. And then we finally like organize everything and create like this separate list of all of these old leads of people who, just ghosted you or just didn't want to sign up or didn't sign up in that moment or whatever. Like when you look at the number of leads in that list, it is insane. Like there's hundreds of leads. There's, at one point I saw a list of 1,000. Granted, this is a very, very long time client. Not everyone is going to buy, right? But when you kind of like organize everything and you just have like this one list of people who you didn't end up working with, it's just insane. Like there's so much that you could take advantage of with that. And that just kind of goes along with like taking action, even if things in your business are going ideal. You're meeting all of your goals and you're doing all of these things that you're happy with. I think still taking like those small steps and taking action with like old leads and stuff like that, just to make things better for your current clients or continue bringing in new clients without, paying extra for those leads, that'll take you even further.
Exactly. And the question you need to ask yourself is, what is stopping me from doing this? So what do you think is the number one thing that typically stops people from taking action and doing what it is that they deep down know they need to do, but for some reason they're just resisting it? Like, what do you think that is?
Well, you and I talk about this a lot, and I think like the main thing is fear. But that can boil down to just like, I mean, we could say like laziness, we could say not having enough time and this and that, but when it comes down to fear, I feel like it's primarily like I currently have board and trains in right now. I don't have time to do that because, and no one has like verbalized this, but I feel like this is kind of just what's working through their thoughts. I don't have time to work through that entire pipeline to organize it because I fear that it'll take too much time away from me being able to work board and trains. Or I fear that if a call comes in, I'm going to miss it. And a lot of this is like multitasking, right? Because like, especially if you're a one-man show, because you're having to answer the phone and have those conversations, going to consultations, going to lessons, working board and trains, working on like the inner parts of your business. And so I think a lot of time that scares people away from doing those bigger things because they just have this thought of like, I want to be able to sit down. They have good intention. They want to be able to sit down and handle all of this. But then the thought of a phone call coming in and interrupting like their thought pattern, like while organizing it all, I feel like just stops them from doing the entire task.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And whenever I think about fear, I think about two stories that I've heard. I'll tell them quick. But the first one is John Jones, the UFC fighter. He talked about how in his career, arguably the greatest UFC fighter of all time, right? And what he talks about is how when he would train for fights, he still had this fear of losing. Like, what if I lose? Like, what if I try my hardest and it's not enough and I lose? Like, so what he would do is he would intentionally still sabotage himself. So like, he would have this training camp, and then like towards the end of the training camp, he would go off on a bender and go out drinking and partying so that he could kind of tell himself, well, if I lose, that's the reason why. Because I just didn't even take it serious in the first place. So I think like that's something that can happen for a lot of people, is the fear of, what if I give it my all and it still doesn't work? The ironic thing is like that just won't happen. Like if you really give it your all and genuinely devote yourself to doing it, I've never seen somebody do that and not have it work for them in the end. On the other side of the spectrum, I know I've said this before on this podcast, but I watched that documentary, The Last Dance, which is about the 1996-97 Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan's last season and stuff. And when they were interviewing him, they were saying, do you ever fear about taking the last shot? Like, what if you miss it? And he was famously like the guy that always wanted the ball at the end of the game. That always wanted to take like the last shot in the game to have the opportunity to win the game. And he said, why would I possibly worry about something happening that hasn't happened yet? And so that was like one of the most eye-opening things to me. I'm like, this is Michael Jordan, at least in sports, is the pinnacle of success. Like, it doesn't, in my opinion, you don't get more successful than Michael Jordan with everything that he's been able to accomplish and just his recognition across the globe and stuff like that. And I just found that so interesting, that it's so easy to put people on a pedestal and think about how they don't feel this fear or whatever it is. And that's just like his way of contorting it. It's like, I'm sure those thoughts have crept into his mind, but he just goes like, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to worry about that. Like, that's the difference. A lot of times people who stay stuck and don't take action, it's because they let the fear really grip them and take a hold of them and debilitate them. And sometimes you just need to do stuff when you don't want to do it. And that's just the plain and simple answer, and I face that all the time. Looking at a project, now this is going to take so long. Where am I even going to start with this? And it can get to a point where you build it up into this 6-headed dragon that you have to slay. And then you just start doing it. You're like, oh, this is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So what I always think about is when it comes to action, put yourself in a position where you need to take action, and so a really good example of this for dog training businesses is running ads. This is not a shameless plug to come work with us, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I was just having this discussion with somebody else who was like slow and feeling like I can't get the phone to ring and everything I'm doing isn't working and I don't know where to start. And frankly, I can't get up off my ass to just go do something and make it work. And what I said is start running some ads, because all of a sudden the phone will ring and all of a sudden it's just sink or swim. Either you're going to answer that call when it comes in or you're not. Either you're going to call that lead or you're not. But it makes it much more black and white for people. When you have to worry about every little aspect of your sales process, generating the leads and then doing the sales and then closing the people and then training the dog, there's an easier way to do it. And if you just force yourself into a position where, hey, the phone is ringing now, I need to answer these leads, that's a really, really good and much easier starting place, I would say.
Yeah. And like the more that you take action, the more that you're going to see results. And so like, what I mean by that, like using the phone, for example, the more you answer the phone, the more likely you are to schedule consultations. The more you do consultations, the more likely you are to actually close a sale. But same thing goes for other things, like I mentioned before, reaching out to old leads. I've heard people say before, like, oh, I've done that and I didn't get anything out of it. You did it one time. You reached out to one list of old leads one time and you didn't get anything out of it. Like, why is that stopping you from continuing to do that?
Exactly.
Because if we turn the tables and use that same mindset on just answering a new lead that comes in from Google and they don't sell, and it's like, what, are you not going to answer the phone again or not do another consult because it didn't work last time?
Exactly.
The more that you do these things, the more that you're going to see results. You might reach out to 300 old leads and not get a single person that is interested. But then the next time that you get an additional 300, now you're reaching out to 600 leads. And maybe some of those original people are finally in a spot where they can, move forward. Or maybe some of these new people are like, oh, I'm sorry, I had something come up. Thanks for reaching back out. Little stuff like that. And even just like, you mentioned going out to like Lowe's and stuff like that, and just kind of like marketing yourself. You can't expect to get immediate results just from a day of getting out and talking with people and training. So it's just like putting in action constantly. Little things that you do every single day, it's going to pay off. You're going to get results from it.
100%. That's extremely well said. It's not about sprinting. It's not about doing one thing really well for one day and expecting that to yield a year's worth of results. It's about doing a year's worth of work to yield a year's worth of results, So it's also about getting better. You going out to Lowe's the first time and trying to demo and get people's attention and talk to them and set consultations, you may feel really awkward and you may walk away from it with zero business. But the only way you're going to get better at it and start walking away from it every single interaction and every single time you do that with business is by forcing yourself into that situation and getting better at approaching people. Like, that's a skill set, So that falls into that category of what we were talking about before, of like taking unreasonable action. Taking unreasonable amounts of action is so good because, one, it's going to get you results, plain and simple. The second thing it's going to do is give you so many repetitions that you become the one who's like the Jedi Knight at doing that in your market. And then no one's going to be able to keep up with you because you put in the 10,000 hour rule. You put in the 10,000 hours of doing that. And so now other people are 10,000 hours behind you. And so it's just about laying a groundwork and laying a foundation for yourself and just really acquiring a skill set. That's one of the most important things in business, is learning that you need to acquire different skill sets. And once you do that, you'll never have to worry about making money ever again.
And I think like thinking of it from or looking at it from another perspective, right? Like still talking about maybe like reaching out to old leads. If you were to call like, let's say you call 100 people to try like reconnecting with them, not a single person wants to sign up. And then the next time you call another 100 people and maybe you get 2 people that sign up, both for like 4-week board and trains, and you get $8,000. I would call 200 people for $8,000.
Yeah.
You know, like the task itself is daunting, especially like when it's someone old that maybe you already talked to. But yeah, I mean, I personally would do that. I think it's just about like looking at it from another perspective too.
Yeah, 100%. And the last thing I'll finish up with this is it works. You know, somebody saying like, oh, I tried that, didn't work. Calling leads, a list of leads works. It just does. Sales departments all over the world do this. They get lists of leads and they call people, you know, hey, Mr. Smith, how are you? You know, like, are you in the market for any new windows or a new roof? People do that and it works. So it's no different for dog training, you know? So we can wrap it up there because I know we both have calls that we got to get onto today. So this is going to be a shorter episode, but I hope you guys got some value from this one. If you take anything away from it, it's this. The entrepreneurs who are going to win, the cream that's going to rise to the top, the people that are going to take the market share in your area are going to be the people who take action. That's a really big part of this. Just showing up, you know, it's like college or high school. A big part of your grade is just attendance. Just show up and do the thing and you'll be rewarded for that. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here, but I appreciate you guys for listening. As always, if there's something you want us to talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments section and we'll make sure to get to it on one of the next episodes. And we will see you guys very soon. Appreciate you guys.
Bye guys.